So my name is Alex Gerke. I work in IT at the city of Waukesha, as Brad had mentioned. My background, I work in IT, so I support everything public safety, so police and fire. Before I came to to the city of Waukesha, I was there with city of Milwaukee with the police department there. I was a crime analyst. So I kind of have that background in public safety and law enforcement.
My name is Megan Roessler. I am in the city's GIS division. We sit in the public works department, but we really, work with a lot of different city departments, doing parcel mapping, managing addresses, and working on projects like this, where we get to figure out some GIS solutions for our colleagues. So just to give everybody kind of the shape of our presentation, we're going to talk through what prompted us to start looking into this Esri solution and when and why. We're going to talk about our experience deploying and personalizing that and what that process looked like. We're going to spend some time doing a live demo, if that's interesting to anyone. And then we'll talk about our long-term vision. And we're hoping that everybody will leave this room or this Zoom meeting today with an understanding of what this solution comes with and how it worked for Waukesha, and hopefully some ideas for how it can work for your organization. And to that effect, I'll say a lot of what we'll cover is public safety related. But if you have events managers, if you have a park rec department who's really interested in GIS, like really likes to do things online, I could see them finding value in this as well. So something to keep in mind. A little background on Waukesha is that we are a small city just outside of Milwaukee area. We have a population of around 72,000. 20 minutes west of Milwaukee. A little trivia for your Friday is that Waukesha is the birthplace of Les Paul, and we are a city kind of founded on the wellness industry and the sparkling water industry way back when. We have you'll see a couple pictures. We have our local university, Carroll College, which was mentioned in the plenary this morning. We have our local river, the Fox River, and we have a really nice historic downtown that is home to a lot of special events put on by our park rec department, our downtown business folks. They do a great job, but they are not the only people involved in planning special events for our community. And that's kind of where our story starts. And that's why one day last spring, shortly before Memorial Day, Alex and I arrived at work and saw an email from someone in our police department asking for help on a map.
So a little background, this all came about and focused on special events, obviously, from the tragedy at our Christmas parade a couple of years ago. And with that came more focus on the city and more focus around the security of our special events. So with that, Megan and I got that email for Memorial Day saying, hey, we need some maps. What can we do? And previously, the police department, fire department had been making their special event maps, either getting screenshots from maps that Megan would make or going into Google themselves, taking screenshots and then doing a little bit of Microsoft Paint saying, this is where you need to be. These are where barriers are. And it just obviously is not even in the 20th century. And once you create that map, you put it in their incident action plan, which has everything for the event. The teams, people that are working, communication plans, contingency plans, and then the mapping for the event as well. So once they do all that, they hit save, they email it out, it's outdated, especially if they end up having to make updates. And so then they make updates and then they send it out again and nobody knows what is the most up-to-date version of the incident action plan. Nobody really can say for sure if they have the finalized map. And so that was really the big problem that we saw and decided to try to bring our public safety into the 21st century to help increase their efficiency and even communication and working from the same plan. So that's where we deployed the special events operations solution. Megan will get into more of the technical side of it on how we deployed it within our environment and all that fun stuff. But it really provides the police and fire department to work from one common operating picture. So if the police department makes their maps and then they go in and update stuff, they don't have to worry about making sure everybody gets that same incident action plan. The police department and the fire departments don't need to be in constant contact. They can just log into their portal and say, hey, all right, this is where all of our security measures are. This is what streets are closed down. And then the police or the fire department can then plan their side of things. Where are they going to stage ambulances? What's going to be their routes in and out? Where are they going to stage vehicles if something bad does happen without having to contact the police department? And they can do that kind of on their own. It also lets us build the real-time operations dashboard. So not only do we have the pre-incident planning, but we also have monitoring with real-time data in there during the event. And then also the field maps. So we did kind of test this during the Christmas parade. And the officers specifically loved it because they can be out at their post and see where everything is. They can see where all of our officers are, our vehicles, where they are in relation to certain parts of the parade as well. And it gives them that overview to be more informed while they're out in the field.
All right.
It's all yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so as Alex kind of explained, we had this problem brought to us. We did a little research, felt that the Esri special event operations solution was going to be a good fit for us. So we decided to deploy it. That took one click. It took about 5 minutes, and we were off and running. Almost immediately, we realized that this had both more and less than we wanted. The solution comes with Survey 123 forms, web maps, web applications. There are quick capture projects for, crowd counting, things for cleaning and restocking. If you have, crews that do that, weather, field reporter, and more. And within each of those maps and each of those layers, there are of course domains, feature types, and so on. So we decided to spend some time identifying what we did and didn't need from the solution. Pretty early on, we looped in police and fire and started asking them, what will you want to see? What will you not use? So we really made an effort to involve them in that conversation. One thing we learned is that it had to be immediately clear what department was at a certain location. So if you can imagine a use case, maybe there are some police and fire chiefs all sitting together in a command post looking at the same map. They have to be able to, each of them has to be able to easily identify, where their teams are. An easy way to do that was symbology. So we had to, figure out, there was a default ATV symbol, but we needed red and blue ATVs for our police and fire departments. One hurdle in particular was that the default ambulance symbol in the solution was blue, which in our organization was indicating it was with the police department. However, City of Waukesha EMS teams are part of the fire department, so we had to do a little bit of work to get a red ambulance symbol. And then we had to add in some additional symbols for things like city garage vehicles, beer gardens, food trucks, and non-city resources that were still going to be important parts of the site maps. Another part of this was working on labeling and feature names, just to match what everybody actually calls their vehicles. So there's a default gator symbol, but that wasn't our gator. Our gator is named Utility 88. And so we were able to add that in.
There's also a vehicle the police department uses and they just call it Great White. I still don't know what Great White is, but everybody in the police department knows what it is. So I think we even added that in there too. So
I think we did.
Yeah.
You might get to see Great White on the map later. Yeah. So we were still able to kind of work with the solution, fine tune it throughout the summer. This was just, it still is kind of an ongoing project of identifying what we need and what we don't, and how we can further streamline and customize the solution. All in all, not bad. With that, we're going to move on to the live demo part of our presentation. As we kind of discussed in the previous slide, there's a lot involved with the solution. I'm sure everybody can guess this involves a lot of links to different applications. It's easy to get overwhelmed by those. So Alex had the really fantastic idea to create police and fire hub sites for our police and fire personnel to have all the links they needed in one place. We set up some groups as well for editors and viewers. So the people who needed to edit could edit, the people who didn't need to edit could not, but they still had access to the current best available maps. So that's kind of the hub site organizational aspect of this.
Yeah, and we really, not to say we dumbed it down, but there's a lot of different things that come with the application, and we really only use what, 3 main parts of it: the creating, managing, and then our operations dashboard, and field maps. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different dashboards and things that you can use. There's even like a public map that you can use as well, but we've really just tried to keep them focused and get them engaged in using this stuff before we really start branching out to a lot of different things.
Yes, there's so much more to this that you can add in. You can enrich it so much beyond what we'll talk about today. And so our workflow right now is to create an event in Survey 123. So that creates an event that will have a unique ID. Then you move into a web application where you plan out your site and operations. All of the features you add have the same unique ID as the event. So everything is kept kind of organized in one place. And then there's also a special event manager that we can use to kind of, if you want to approve things, pause on things, copy things, archive them, and so on. And then there's also day of dashboards that we'll discuss.
Yep.
So that's kind of the conceptual workflow. I am going to share a different window. And we can show you what those applications look like. Here we have step 1. This is the special event form in Survey 123. From here, someone is able to enter the name of a special event. They can categorize it. We've gone into Survey 123 Connect and added and removed a couple of categories. One can add a description of the event, which would be useful if you were sharing it publicly and you wanted to advertise events happening in someone's community. You can indicate if it's open to the public, estimated attendance, whether alcohol will be served. We don't need to go through the entire thing, but this is kind of the idea of it. So that's step 1. Step 2 would be creating a special event operations map. So this is a web application. From here, we're able to select our WLIA event from the dropdown. So all of these features are going to have the same WLIA ID. Everything is going to be tied together. So you can see we've already put a little thought into this. We've put some features on the map, but it's really nice because what you're able to do is you can go in here. I'll find Great White since Alex discussed it earlier. So someone is able to put this up on a screen. Maybe they're in a planning meeting for a special event. You can just pick what feature you want to place on the map. And then you can place it by pointing and clicking. You can put in information for point of contact. If you want somebody's phone number attached to it, comments. If there's a radio channel you need, you can enter all kinds of information like that. You click save. And then there we have Great White showing up on the map. So really, it's a pretty straightforward process of people being able to look at the application, look at the screen, and map out things like ATMs, or like, ATMs, event routes, fire lanes, parking areas, press areas, VIP areas. You can draw that around here. So really it's just pointing and clicking. And once everybody realized that, they were very inspired and they realized, oh, it's GIS, but it's very approachable. It's in this nice, clean, easy to use interface.
Yeah, and then so it also came with Do you want to talk about the grid and some of the other?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
The police department is they love their grids. Their tactical minds. And the web app builder comes with all the widgets that you can add. And one of them is creating a grid on the fly based on how many cells do you want? Is it 10 by 10? How big are they? And they really love that because if they partner with other agencies that may not know the city of Waukesha, but they're helping to work the event, say it's the 2024 RNC, where a lot of outside agencies may come in. Everyone can have the field maps on their phone and see what grid that they are in. So if they don't know their intersection or their address, they can just call out, yeah, this is so-and-so, I'm in grid A1 and there's suspicious, whatever it may be. And it gives them that quick communication tool that's still accurate without them having to know our city layout and our streets, since they can be very confusing. Since they're not north and south, east, west, it's like a wheel basically. So that was very helpful. They actually loved that part and always want a grid now. So
Yes, there's been a lot of interest in the easy to create grid. Kind of similarly, you can, do some on the fly analysis. You can point and click, spills or other incidents.
yeah, so the fire department would like that if there was a chemical spill, chlorine or whatever it is. You can take in wind direction, if it's a gas, how big it is, and it's all based on the emergency response guide that the feds put out. And then that's the same thing for the police department. There's a threat analysis widget, which takes in the information from joint counterterrorism. And it's, is it a pipe bomb, suitcase, how big it is, and then it gives you the evacuation zones with that. And you can do all of that on the fly. And then with the lovely Esri, you can set up notifications based on that. So if you're within an evacuation route, it will push that notification through field maps. And then officers know we're in an evacuation route, so we need to get people out of this area. So haven't had to use that, thank God. But it is something there that will help the efficiency of police and fire. Do you have a question? Yeah, so I logged in on my phone just now, so that's my live location. I think it's the default for Esri's, I think once a minute. Yep. Yeah, so we have. Yeah, so I logged into the field maps for this on my phone, and we have tracking locations in here for police and fire that we have an account set up for them for special events. So we can then track them while they're out in the field and also have that map in front of them to know where they are and who's around them. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so.
Oh, yes. Sorry. The question was whether there's a setting to make sure that this is the location sharing is always on an officer's phone. It's not getting tossed into a backpack and then turned off.
So that's something we need to look at a little bit more. The officers that work the event really liked the field maps and they like being able to see everything around them. So in the app, I made them share their location if they want to view that map. So that helped out a lot. It forces them to log in. One thing we did find was that you can set 4, 8, or 12 hours to share your location or until I tell you no. And a lot of people kept that on and then they would go home. And now everyone's like, oh, you live in my neighborhood. And I'm like, I met you yesterday. How do you know that? And they're like, oh, well, I saw your location on the map. So then I had to filter some things out, but yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. I noticed we're getting close on time, so I'm going to talk briefly about the manager aspect of this.
Yeah, let me go into operations. Manager is pretty quick.
Yeah, manager is pretty quick. It's just a way to keep all of your plans in one place, kind of organized. If you wanted to set up a review workflow, this is where you could do that. You can also archive events and then copy previous plans, which would be really helpful if you have a recurring event, week to week in the summertime, you have a concert going on. Each year you have the same event happening. So you can archive and reuse your work. Yeah.
So we kind of went off script and built our own dashboard. So this is the dashboard we have, similar to the mapping application, the events on the left-hand side here. So you can filter it out by each one. We have a bunch of school crisis plans in here because they wanted to get those digitized. But here we're at WLIA. If I just click on Tim Fleming, who likes to have this open constantly, we can see that he is